Good to go. Great. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The time is 6 o'clock. I welcome everyone. Welcome our guests to today. And we have regrets from Councillor Campbell tonight. So first thing first, approval of the agenda. That the agenda for council meeting of November 4th, 2024 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor McConnell, Deputy Mayor Young. All in favor? Great, thank you. Any declarations of interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on then. We have no presentations tonight, but we do have a delegation tonight from Iroquois Marine Search and Rescue, part of the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary. So today we have District 1 Director Jim Coolin, who's going to give us a presentation. I know he's got 3 others, but I was told it's just Jim. Right, Jim? Okay. I was told that by Tim back there. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. You want if I stand? Or?
Absolutely.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much for allowing us to come this evening. Your Worship, Deputy Mayor, Councillor, staff. Tonight I'd like to give you a quick overview of the Marine Search and Rescue System in Canada, followed by our regional history, and then how more specifically it will apply to your municipality. And so if I just get the next slide, please. There it is. Okay. So Canada has 6 regions from Newfoundland to British Columbia, all are incorporated as a not-for-profit. Each region may differ to make up the volunteers. For example, the Maritimes has volunteers that include a good number of commercial fishermen. So Central Arctic, which is our region, was incorporated in 1978 as a not-for-profit. It's 100% volunteer driven. We cover the federal waters of Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and the Arctic, including the St. Lawrence River, which is considered a federal body of water. Okay, and that's important to note because it falls under the Department of National Defense to provide search and rescue. Next, mission statement. So our mission is to provide a permanent search and rescue service to cover marine requirements in Canada and prevent the loss of life and injury. Our objectives are 100% save 100% of lives at risk, reduce the number and severity of SAR incidents, promote marine safety. And one of the ways we do that is we have a program, it's a vessel courtesy check. So we go down and offer recreational boaters not to go on board the boat. We have a list of what they need on their boat, the size, and we check to make sure it's all there and it's appropriate. We sign off, we give them a certificate, and then we give them a sticker, a decal, so that if they get stopped by the OPP or the local police, they know that they have been inspected, and hopefully that would make their stop a little more pleasant. So, also provide humanitarian services, maintain the highest professional standards, promote dedication and pride of membership. So Central Arctic has approximately 937 members, 104 vessels consisting of private, community, and commercial. Now, private are those boats where the owner is using his vessel to participate in search and rescue with the auxiliary. The community is a community vessel that's part of a community, staffed and volunteered for the most part 24/7 during the SAR season. And then commercial vessels fall under like fishermen who are fishing. So the Maritimes, a lot of commercial fishermen that are members of the auxiliary in the Maritimes, so that if there's an issue, they're already out there and they're called upon to perform the search and rescue. So we have those 3 categories: privately owned, boats being used by the consideration of the owner, community boats owned by the community, and then commercial. As of end of last month, we had 364 taskings in Central Arctic. These are calls for assistance, and the insured value of our vessels are in excess of $11 million.
So just so anyone's not sure, SAR is search and rescue. Yeah, just in case. There's lots of acronyms in the auxiliary.
I'm going to go read it. Thank you, John. Okay, so let's look at the overview. So in a marine search and rescue response system in Canada, it's operated by a series of joint rescue coordination centers known as, there's an acronym, JRCC, Joint Rescue Coordination Center. And there are three, starting in Victoria, British Columbia, the one in Trenton, just down the highway here in the military base, and then Halifax, Nova Scotia, with a sub-center up in Quebec City. And the rescue centers are manned 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And they are staffed by Royal Canadian Air Force officers and Coast Guard officers working jointly together. So when a call comes in for assistance, depending on the nature of the call, severity, they assess the situation, decide what would be the appropriate response. So if it needs a post on the water, it could be the auxiliary or the regular Coast Guard. If it's something more severe and further away, it could be Hercules. It all depends on the situation. So the two work together side by side in this rescue center. That's how it happens. The controllers decide what's appropriate to the response, depending on severity and the nature of the response.
And to that point, I took the crew for a visit yesterday down to the one at Trenton. And while we were there, they actually did have a live tasking for four fishermen in a swamp vessel on Lake Winnipeg. So they covered right out to Lake Winnipeg. And they coordinated with local auxiliary units, Coast Guard units, and the Hercules from Winnipeg to go and search for these four fishermen. So, and they're all in one big room, so they can literally talk across to each other like we are here.
So between the east and west coast, there's approximately 5,000 calls for assistance every year. And about 16% of those are distress calls, they're serious calls. And the volunteer Coast Guards regions provided with 30% response to all those calls. That's a considerable amount. So we are a major partner with
volunteers.
Yeah, we are a major partner with them. Okay, so just before I move on, so the Ministry of National Defense has the overall responsibility for the operation of the coordinated federal SAR system, and primarily full-time SAR resources are provided by the Canadian Armed Forces and to the Department of Fisheries and Ocean. So what you have up here is just a quick schematic. I know the print's kind of small, but it's what happens when a call comes in to the very top box looking for assistance from the Rescue Coordination Center. The first arrow down, the request is assessed and decided what the proper response. And then going counterclockwise, a call's made to an auxiliary unit in our case. And we're given the details, and then we accept the tasking. And then we gather the crew and we respond. Once our unit accepts the tasking from the coordination center, we then fall under the command and control, in this case, of JRCC Trenton, and we operate under their authority exclusively. Okay. And through the Marine Communication and Traffic Services, which is a fancy word for a radio station, which you have one right down the block here, Prescott Coast Guard Radio. So once our crews are out there on a SAR tasking, they no longer deal directly with Trenton in this case. They go through the radio station, and they are the intermediary to Trenton. And everything that is said is recorded, and situation reports are sent to let them know where we are, what we're doing, checking on us to make sure we're safe, and the response is appropriate. So, Iroquois. So Trenton has looked at the situation and has done an analysis and has decided that Iroquois is a need for search and rescue. We are currently putting in place a unit known as Iroquois Marine Search and Rescue, known as IMSAR, non-for-profit. I think John, who's volunteered to take on the responsibility to establish this non-for-profit, gather people together, and volunteers, and to train them. The Coast Guard has transferred a Regan Hall inflatable to us, so they're providing us with a boat. We hope to get the boat next week after next. after it's in the last process of being inspected. At least, so currently there are no federal search and rescue assets west of Cornwall again in Aquay. That's why Iroquois was highlighted as an area of need. Most search and rescue unit with the Coast Guard is Hill Island underneath the Thousand Islands Bridge. The next one further west is Kingston. So potentially Iroquois Marine Search and Rescue is going to cover the area from Long Sault to Prescott. And this is why we're here tonight to talk to you about what our services are and how it's going to impact your community. So I guess we could all agree that climate change has impacted the way we live. For instance, the St. Lawrence River, for the last couple of years, it had never frozen over completely, remained open. And as a result of that, recreational boating has been extended. We have hunters and fishermen out in December, January. And so we're having to reassess, and the government have to reassess what assets they have available in the case there's there's an emergency, if someone's in need or trouble. Now, the consideration is that at that time of the year, there may not be a lot of people out, but there will be some people out. And if they need help, how do we provide that help to them? So our intention is to be able to have our boat in service when the ice marine is out. We get on the water and shut down our service the moment that the marina is covered in ice and we can no longer safely take the boat out.
Or outside temperature dictates the engines don't like it.
Yeah. So very quickly, auxiliary training. We're trained to Transport Canada and Coast Guard standards. All our crews must meet these standards. Pleasure craft operator's card, the radio license to operate the VHF radio, small domestic vessel basic safety certification, which talks about fires, what type of fire extinguisher needed depending on the fire, and other considerations. And then the last one is the small vessel operator proficiency certificate. And within our program, we're taught navigation, how to handle the boat, search patterns, and altogether there's about 20 hours of on-water training and 20 hours of theory. And that provides the basis or the basic training. And then the crews go out and train and gather experience, right? The only thing we can't teach is experience. So you got to earn that. So funding, how are we funded? Funding for training and the cost to run the boat for taskings are provided through a thing called a contribution agreement, a legal document that we negotiate every year. Well, usually it's a one-way negotiation, signed by Fisheries and Oceans, the Canadian Coast Guard and the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary Central Ireland. And the contribution agreement outlines what activity is permitted by the auxiliary using the funds such as training and responding to calls. And also we are required to adhere to Treasury Board guidelines. Other costs are the responsibility of the local unit. So the government is giving us a boat, they give us money to do the taskings and do the training. But there's other costs that are commensurate with having the boat, such as general maintenance, repairs to the engines, any damage to the hull that might occur, the annual inspection of the inflatable system. Because it's a high-speed vessel, if it were to flip, there is a system that will automatically inflate and right the vessel back. So that system is key, has to be checked every year. Marine docking costs. And then the biggest cost is eventually replacing the boat once its useful life is ended. And putting money aside to...
They only give us one, that's it.
Just
We're
that.
on our
No,
own.
we get one.
We're only getting one.
You're only getting your first boat.
And it's not a new one.
It's used, yeah, but it should be
That's all
good
we're
shape.
getting.
So how do
We
we
gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, so how do we cover these costs, right? So we just do different things. Some do car washes, they get involved in the community, raise fundraising, they look for sponsorships, and they also look for municipal support. And I'd like us to the importance of the community. Well, the volunteers that live in your community are going to be serving the citizens of the community. And our vision is volunteers providing excellence in the marine search and rescue, and values are safety, teamwork, and community. Okay, thank you. Next one, importance of community. Supporting the community is crucial. Without this support, the effectiveness of the service we render may be diminished. So I've chosen 3 examples just to show you how the relationship between the auxiliary unit and the municipality has worked in other municipalities. So the first one is Pickering. Thank you. So Pickering Marine Search and Rescue serves the Durham region, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. It was founded in 1967. And the Durham region has provided them in 2023 a budget of 73,600 in funding, and that was increased to 83,250 in funding. Now, again, the contribution agreement gives a certain amount of money, but to go on patrols, to have the vessel out in the public view costs money. It's not covered by the contribution agreement. And so we're looking for money for unexpected costs and these patrols. So an example, on their board of directors, they have Maurice Brenner, the regional councillor and deputy mayor Pickering, and the chairperson, Rhonda McKelly, regional councillor, deputy mayor Whitby, Lisa Bauer, councillor Ajax, etc. So they do have external members on the board from the municipality. Their SAR partners, they work with the police, Durham and Toronto, fire services, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, the Ontario Hydro, EMS. And then we work with the Royal Canadian Air Force, 424 Squadron. So our units train with the helicopter group, taking people off and on the boat using the SAR-TEX. We also use fixed wing. So we have a thing called a dewatering pump. The vessel's sinking. We bring the pump to the vessel, we get it started, we start bailing it out. And if we need more equipment, Hercules may be sent. And we practiced with some of our units this summer, practiced nighttime drops from the Hercules. Hercules, they put this heavy pump in a barrel with a parachute and fire it out. And he asked the coxswain, how close do you want it? And he said, just splash the deck, but don't hit us. So we do that type of thing too. We practice with Canadian Coast Guard, and we also practice with our American counterparts on the other side, the U.S. Auxiliary and the U.S. Coast Guard. The next group, the Hamilton Beach Rescue Unit, founded in 1957. The beginnings were from a volunteer fire department. They're on call 24/7, 365 days a year. They own their own building near the water. And Hamilton provides an operating budget of $75,000 per year. In addition, the municipality puts in reserve $20,000 per year over a 10-year period, so that money can be used to purchase a new boat. And I must say, Hamilton also has I don't know how they did this. They have a license for ticket sales for lottery, and they get a certain amount of money back from different kiosks that sell it. So that's how they get their money. And Toll Wharf, which John is still talks about, was founded in 1954 by the Oakville Police Chief Fred Oliver. They're on call 24/7 during the search and rescue season. 50 volunteers supporting SAR, search and rescue. And they have a counselor from a representative, Dr. Natalia from Oakville. And they get an annual grant from Oakville, $32,500. So that's just to give you a quick flavor of how the community works with the auxiliary and how we work with the community. So I just want to stay within my 10 minutes.
Too late. Oh, yeah.
Close enough.
I apologize. Thank you. Any questions?
Sure, I'll start. Sorry, I didn't see any. How many, I see there's 4 of you here, but how many do you have in your group?
So right now I have 15 members. I have 12 active boat crew members and 3 non-crew. I get an allocation of 5 non-crew members that are just shore-based. So they do financial side of things. They do the paperwork and things like that. Administration.
And one more question, just for our sake. In this area, so between Long Sault and Prescott, how many SAR incidents would you have in a year?
It varies. There was times last year where there was 2, 3 a week, and then you might go 2 weeks with nothing, and then you'll get 1 a week, I don't know the exact numbers, but if you figure on 5 a month,
Keep in mind, it'll include people who ran up on the rocks, people who run out of gas, people whose engines just quit and you're out in the middle of the channel. Somebody's got to go get them before the freighter runs them over. There is nobody else to go out. So who knows how many you're gonna have.
And the numbers are not exactly real because neighborhoods, people from neighborhoods have been calling, their brother, their father, their uncle, hey, I'm stuck, help, help. We have no help here. We have nothing. This is why they say that we are needed now.
So in order to be more specific, it's hard to judge the number of calls we're gonna get. It depends on the trend. With recreational boating, COVID's had an impact. Prior to COVID, it was very busy. The other thing we noticed that's even more of a concern is that because gas has become more expensive, boats are more expensive, a lot of people have gone to these paddle boards and kayaks. And we get a lot of calls, not necessarily in our area here, we have some, but it's becoming more popular and we anticipate that there could be more calls for assistance, right?
so my background, I was with Oakville at Tow Wharf. I'm in my 10th year now, just finishing my 10th season. And the calls we were getting down there, we were getting 70+ calls for the last 4 years, 5 years. And there's a good percentage of paddle boarders that they paddle one way when the wind's behind them. And they turn around and figure, okay, I've got to paddle back 2 miles now into the wind and it's cold and they just don't have the strength to do it. And yeah.
One of the good examples, our unit in Pickering is the odd call from the hydro, the atomic, the nuclear plant, saying, oh, someone's caught up in the net on the water intake, the kayak, can you come get them? I mean, who would want to get that close to a water intake of a nuclear plant? But anyway.
There's a lot of people now who are brand new to the country and brand new to boating. And they're buying boats, they have no idea how to operate. You're getting old crap that's just falling apart, you know, where you ever sit in front of your ramp for a while, you'll get the idea. And like my personal boat, I was out twice this summer to find people who got out, and one of them had a sea dude. She sucked up all her rope underneath and floating down the river, gone.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is the current's pretty stiff out here too. It gets more, it
There's a need.
as you get towards the airport.
And how do you guys get called? Like, does someone call 911 and then call you
Yeah,
guys?
so there's different ways that we'll get notified. Marine side, it will go to JRCC. JRCC will reach out to me as the unit leader. And then I will go, okay, they will tell me what's going on. And depending on what's going on, I'll find out what crew is available and then decide who goes and when we go and how we do it.
And to your point too, the other thing that's changing is that the new generation have a lot of cell phones and no VHF radio, right? And so the first thing to do is they dial 911. What could happen is they end up at an OPP communication center. Could be in Barrie. And they have no idea what was going on down at our end. So the government is getting us a new system for the Joint Coordination Center called something 911. So what will happen is, it hasn't been implemented yet, but soon when you make a 911 call, they're going to ask you police, fire, ambulance, or marine.
Okay.
If they say marine, it goes right to Trenton to respond to the call. But before that, you know, we weren't getting the calls because people were using just 911. There was *16 on your cell phone, which take you to Prescott directly, but apparently all the carriers support that *16.
And you're gonna see us around the community all summer. We'll be telling people, here's how you get a hold of us if you need us. Here's the number to call.
Yeah, I firmly believe in being front and centre in the community so everyone knows who to call when stuff goes wrong.
And just so you're not alone too, Brockville has also been identified as area need. So I'm from Brockville. I crewed on a private vessel. So the owner gave the auxiliary his vessel for use. And he retired and sold the boat, so there's no service there. So this has been identified as an area of need, and so I'm hoping with the next 12 months, they're gonna give us a boat, and they'll start a new unit up in Brockville, so we'll have between Iroquois, Prescott, and Brockville, the whole part of the river covered.
And that area is a rough boundary. If JRCC tells me I'm going to Brockville, I'm going to Brockville. It's like, it's not, okay, we're at Prescott and that's it, we can't go any further.
Right.
If there's people in trouble and I'm told to go, I'm not gonna say, oh, no, I can't go over there. We're going. I done a lot of stuff in my time at Oakville, in the US waters, so we can go wherever we want.
Okay, let me just see. Oh, did you have a question, Councillor?
Yeah, I did. You indicated you coordinated with your counterparts across the river.
Mhm.
Do we have, I know we're all, anybody that's had a boat is familiar with US Coast Guard, at least these days anyway. Do we have a volunteer group such as yourself anywhere near us on the other side of the river?
Yes, on Ogdensburg. Yeah, the US Auxiliary, Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Right in Ogdensburg.
Yeah, that area. So that was Andrew Bay. So in the spring, for the last 10, 12 years, I've gone over with other individuals from the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary to train with the Americans and the US Coast Guard. And I've also had our high-speed rib out of Hill Island 1 year to join us as part of that 2-day presentation. So we practice. And the understanding is we're not going to ask you nationality, we're just going to get you. And we've talked about Homeland Security, so yeah, let's not worry about that. Someone in trouble. So we'll call on the US, like they monitor us, right? They monitor our communications out here and vice versa. So, you know, if we don't have an asset that's available and the US does, we'll say, can you respond? And they will. So we together, we work together.
So it's a mutual aid.
Mutual aid, absolutely.
Until they start talking about sport and then we'll see how that goes.
Thank you.
You answered my question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Mine's answered.
Well, thank you very much. So usually what we'll do is we'll discuss this at another time. It's good for us to get the information and then we can digest it and
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
So the boat will be moored at the Gallup Marina in Iroquois, because it's a central spot. All my crew are in Iroquois apart from, I think, 2 of them who are just outside.
Okay.
So our response time is gonna be pretty quick. I'm like 6 minutes from the marina.
And we do have a member that is a Coast Guard employee.
Yes, so there's
Now
one
on
of
that
the guys
cruise.
is in
Oh, good.
environmental response down at the marina, down at the union here, basically, so.
Councillor Khan?
Thank you. We have, over the course of the year, various people make presentations to us, such as yourselves. All very not all very worthwhile, but, you know, depending on your viewpoint. But in a lot of the cases, we don't actually get an ask. It's a presentation, we don't get an ask. What are you asking for?
Funny how you come. I understand you've got a grant request coming in January. There's a copy of our budget for next year. We're sort of hoping to count on you guys for $5,000, maybe 5 weeks for municipalities to deal with. We'll come back with a formal application in January.
Okay.
We need seed money somewhere to get going, because our budget in there is about $25,000 for fuel.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
That was a good one today.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.
All right. No, it's fine.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Been around here, so I will.
Okay, next on the agenda is minutes of the previous council meeting. The motion is that the council minutes dated October 21st, 2024 be accepted as presented. Okay, moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor Burton. Any discussion on the last meeting's minutes? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. There's no communications or petitions tonight. There is a council information package. So Is there anything you'd like to take out of the council information package? Councillor Kirkby?
If I may, through you, Mayor Shankar, I'd just like to comment on a couple items and then not go home. The one is the Enbridge increase, right? I'd just like to call out that, what Enbridge is stating as part of the cost increase for residents in this area is roughly $68 per year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it continues to rise, is due to the carbon tax. I did reach out to Matthew on this matter, who indicated that it kind of looks like maybe Enbridge is double dipping on the carbon tax by passing a certain portion of that on to the customer and then filing for a rebate from the government. So the reason why I bring this up is the next thing that I will talk will be the OPP increase, which is significant. Is 2 increases to Prescott residents, and we haven't even talked about our municipality increases. So one thing that I'm going to say is just looking at these 2 things, I'd like to point out as we get closer to our budget talks is that we keep in mind that we're already faced with 2 increases to our residents of Prescott. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So seeing none, I'm just going to read the motion that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Lockett, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, there's no committee reports. Mayor's report, it's been a busy couple of weeks since our last meeting. We had our small business week forum that was emceed by Deputy Mayor Young. It was a very good success. Mr. Lockett was there as well. We probably had about between 40 and 50 people there that stayed for most of the night. We also had a good presenter. We talked about window displays, which was very interesting. But it was good to be able to talk about some of our successes and some of our future plans. So that was good. The same 3 of us were at the Legion for the first Poppy. We had that done. And the Halloween town at the pop-ups was very busy. It was Councillor Burton was there with Nala. What, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. And it was crazy. At 4:00, it was crazy. Eminem was there too. And then all of a sudden the weather switched around 6. It was nasty for about half an hour, but then it was nice again. So kudos to Dana and Justin. They did a great job there for that. Followed that up with the pumpkin parade, which was on just Friday this week. Well done there. Sam was Sully for a long time. He did a good job dancing, by the way. We had Tinted Wisdom, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite bands in this town. They did a free concert. I kept saying, I'll leave after the next song. I'll leave after the next song. And I stayed all night. So it was a lot of fun. This weekend, the Spirit of Giving kicked off their campaign. You know, what a wonderful group they are. Group of volunteers that go out and help the unfortunate people out there. I think last year they said they did 275 baskets. So, you know, it's probably not looking like going to be any less than that this year. So if you get a chance, pull into your spirit of giving and help out those that need it. And another fundraiser that was held this weekend was Shakespeare Masquerade Dinner. And I'll let Councillor McConnell talk more about that. But again, it was a very nice night. People were very generous. We had a few live auction items and silent auction items. So I'd love to hear how much they profited from there. And they mentioned their new, sorry, I'm breaking into your thing. Go ahead. The new shows for next year, which I'll let you do, and some very exciting news about former actor that used to come and keeps coming down for these events. So he's coming back. So I'll move on and let Councillor Lockett go next.
Okay. So, Because Counselor Campbell's not here tonight, the firefighters are very busy preparing for Santa's arrival next Friday. They wanted to be here to do their own little presentation, but they've asked us to remind people that it's usually an awesome event. Whether it's rain, shine, snow, or whatever, it's usually a very, very well-attended event, and that they're really looking forward to next Friday night. So they want to make sure that everybody puts it in their calendar. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I had a busy couple of weeks as well. I spent about 15 hours at the cemetery over the last 10 days or so, and I'm happy to report I finally got all the branches, trees, whatever you want to call it, that were hiding the memorials on the south side of the cemetery, trimmed back so that they are all exposed and you can visit them now if you're so inclined. And there was actually some kind of interesting surprises in the stones that I found there, which I'm not going to bore you with, but somebody who's involved, enjoys history, I enjoyed reading them. I assisted the Shakespeare group in moving some stuff from the Leo to the Moorhook building and then over here for the activity that you mentioned that they had on Saturday night. Last Wednesday, and this has got nothing to do with council activities, but I think it's really worth mentioning again from a historical standpoint. Nancy and I went on the Ghost Walk tour at Colford House Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you something, after doing that, there's no way I would spend a night in that building. It's haunted. It's haunted. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it's a fantastic building to go through. It's incredible, the woodwork that's in there, but the stories that are documented, the things that have actually happened are just absolutely incredible. And even some of the summer students won't go up on the third floor anymore. They won't stay alone in the daytime in the building. So it's an incredible tour to take. And the reason I mentioned it really is I was talking to one of the tour directors after the tour, and he's a nice gentleman, older gentleman from Brockville. And I told him I was on the cemetery board down here. And this tour starts out with some film from a group that comes in, and they've got all these electronic gizmos and gadgets that actually hear voices and register stuff. That's just unbelievable. And I said, I'm on the cemetery board down here. I'm wondering if we could contact these people, see if they could do something like that in our cemetery. And he said, well, they do a cemetery walk in Brockville, and it's a fundraising thing, which might be good for the cemetery, might be good for the Historical Society, which would be involved as well. So I'm going to bring it up in our next meeting. And he indicated that they didn't actually pay anything for these people to do this, but then they had the rights to broadcast what they found. So it might be something entertainment wise and fundraising wise would be good, because we do have a very old, those stones go back to the late 1700s, and a very large cemetery as well. Very interesting. And as you mentioned, I attended the Shakespeare Masquerade Gala on Saturday night, which was an incredible event. It took place on the second floor here. And they used most of the second floor. Our new room out there was packed. They had the hallway in the Ruth Evanson room with displayed gift merchandise for their silent auction. I'd also be interested to know how much they took in off that, although they're probably still calculating. They announced their schedule for the coming season, and I'm not gonna take the thunder away from our official representative over there, but I will mention that the second production that they have is a very new play in regards to, not Shakespeare, but help me out here. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Sherlock Holmes visiting Canada, visiting a small community and solving a crime. So that sounds very much like it would be of interest to local people. So I expect it's going to be a great thing to look forward to. Before the gala, I attended a celebration of life at the golf course for an old friend of mine, Bob Steele, who most of us probably know. Bob grew up next to me on James Street, and in later years, we wound up both buying our family home. So we were neighbors next door. Interesting enough, going back to the cemetery, I stumbled across his family burial plot back there. Bob was taken early with something that none of us really want to look forward to, but my condolences to his family.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Yesterday, I presented a scroll on behalf of the town, the Marie's Cupboard at St. Paul's United Church. They were celebrating 194 years of history, and Marie's Cupboard 18 years of service. And they've raised over $111,000 over the 18 years to support the church. That was really nice to attend. The rebranding and marketing strategy request for proposal will close on November 15th, and Dana advises that they're getting a lot of good entrants. Center Street waterfront patio paving has been completed, and the construction will start within a couple of weeks under the My Main Street funded project. And just a reminder that the tree lighting and Riverwalk Wonderland event will be December 6th and 7th this year, so keep that in your calendar. And we had a planning advisory committee meeting where we approved exterior facade at John Harding's building, where Old Magic
And amazing.
and amazing photography is. And that's it for me. It was good.
Thank you. Councilor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Lots happening in the library. We have all sorts of opportunities, candle making, paint parties, crafting sessions. So check out on the website everything that's happening in the library. The community sports recreation infrastructure grant was submitted the other day. Our pumpkin parade, we had 522 pumpkins. It was spectacular. And thanks to the South Granville leadership class who helped out this year. That was a big help. They helped out and put all the pumpkins and displayed and helped with the kids' activities as well. We couldn't do this parade without the community support for this event. So, you know, thanks to the community for putting out their pumpkins and carving all the different ones. It was really nice to see. And our pumpkins have now gone to local farms to help feed animals, which is a really neat thing that we do. Pickleball last year at this time, we had 186 people participating. This year at this time, we have 273 participating. So which is really good. And Shakespeare, I think it's all been said around the table. Lots of good, positive feedback from everybody. Spectacular event. Thanks to the donors and the sponsors, because without our donors and sponsors and our volunteers, these events that we put on, we couldn't do it without them. So, but that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to mention the actress who's coming back.
I do, but I forget his name and I did not write it down. So if somebody knows, that would be great to say.
Quincy Armour.
But yes.
I think he mentioned last night or Saturday night that he's been here eight or nine seasons, so he may be the longest standing one, or maybe Melissa was 10.
I think he said Melissa was 9 or something. And anyway, he's been here often.
Yeah, so he's
had many of our.
And he's a big proponent, like he had a little speech and he went on and on about how he loves his town, right? So we should have seen it coming that he was coming back. Very good. Councillor Kirkby.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Shankar. Not as much to report as everybody. I'll give a brief operations update. So Churchill Road East was repaved from Massey to Boundary. Great job. King Street was repaved from the Medical Center to Ann Street. Work has started on the Prescott Center Drive, so some people that have been maybe drove out by the grocery store started to see some of the pylons up and stuff there to repave and curb up there. The Deepwater Dock area that was gravel has now been paved. That was done on Friday. The splash pad has been winterized. Leaf pickup, I felt bad for the crew guys because the bags went out and then it rained. And it hadn't rained much, but it rained that day and I thought, oh, gonna be some soggy bags to pick up. I've been around a hockey rink quite a bit. I'll say the additional hooks in the dressing room, the ACC are much appreciated. The live feed, live barn, I think it's called, is being well advertised there. There's lots of positivity, talk about it. At first, people were unclear of why they had to subscribe, but the quality camera and being able to follow the play and get live updates and stuff like that, like the scores, is much better and much well received than what's at most municipal arenas. So it's definitely gained some traction and it'll help people that, they have grandchildren or, children they're away from work to be able to log in and watch these games. So it's a great add-on and I'll just, I didn't attend any events, but I do get feedback and the positivity was outstanding on the pumpkin parade, Shakespeare masquerade. Lots of positives for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I just wanted to say thank you to our town staff too. I mean, everything that they do around town and with these events and they're above and beyond and they spend hours. I think they were down there till like 10:30 at night, minimal, because we have to remove all the pumpkins and stuff. But, thanks to them for taking one for the team and doing these events for our community.
Thank you. Well said.
So my that's like we're having on here.
Sure.
I was back Thursday and grew rid of my leaves at the our waste facility. I use these big plastic bags that guys don't pick up. I've used the same one for 4 years because they're big in it. Anyway, when you're in a small town, when you spend more time dumping your leaves than you do raking them because you're talking to everybody that's there. But I couldn't help but notice when I go by that the dog park has been relocated and they've done a really nice job on it. It's fenced, it's got mulch on the bottom of it. It's for the dogs to do. I saw some people out there walking around picking up poo. And I was very, very impressed on what the guys did with the dog park. So
They did a really good job.
thanks to our crew, I'm presuming they were responsible.
They actually even used the old fencing to make the new fencing. So we're very lucky. Even that room over there, when I was bragging about it this weekend, a lot of that was done by our house guys. Kudos to them for all they do. Okay, I'm gonna move on to some staff reports. The first one of many is 84-2024, the 2025 OPP annual billing statement. There's no motion on this. It's just for information. And Matthew, you have the floor.
Very much, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to kind of skip to the main parts and really the overall increase from 2024 to 2025 is 223,000. Of that, almost 67,000 is an increase to year-end adjustment. They're always 2 years behind, so this is the year-end adjustment for 2023. One thing that we can do, we haven't finished the audit for 2023 yet, and because of that, we are able to put that 74,000 back into 2023, recorded as a year-end adjustment, and then that would decrease the overall increase to 154,000. So that would have a substantial impact, from going from 223 to 154, and certainly something that that would help us for next year. Also, in my update today, I did mention that there's an increase to our OMPF. That's expected to be about 140,000. So while this is a very substantial number, we do have a couple of ways to offset it. So that we're not starting so far behind the eight ball. But I did want to reiterate what Councillor Kirkby mentioned, is that even before we get to staff and benefits and insurance and general CPI increases and joint services increases and long-term care increases, we're faced with massive amounts that are coming in, even on things that we wouldn't normally see. So I wanted to first of all highlight it for council that this is a substantial increase. I think all of the municipalities were caught off guard by it. We weren't provided with forewarning or foreknowledge. And the increases that I saw, I belong to an Eastern Ontario treasurers group. And so people started kind of sharing what their increases were, and it ran from anywhere from 16 to 30% for next year, just for their OPP billing. So we're certainly on the lower end of that. And part of that is because when you go through the data, we are continuing to have fewer calls. So we 4 years ago, we were in the 1400s, now we're down into 1300s. And that's good because it's a 4-year moving average, is how part of the formula works, is that as your proportionate share of the total number of calls goes down, your proportionate share of the total costs go down. That being said, when the costs go up by 20-30%, that's, not a huge advantage as you would normally expect. So I would have actually expected this to go down had everything else been equal, because our proportional share is continuing to go down. But obviously, the costs for OPP have gone up. And we're not alone in this. And so certainly, I think a couple of the resolutions that you saw this evening in the package were specific to OPP increases. And I think my hope is that somehow we'll be able to find a way to phase this in over a couple of years, as opposed to having to address it all in this year or in 2025. So when we take a look over the last decade, we were at 1.7 million. They instituted a common calculation, which then brought us down to 1.15 million. And then now it's certainly working its way back up. So this is obviously the biggest increase that we've seen in the last decade, and certainly something that we want to try and manage the best we can for 2025. And we'll certainly be looking to the Ontario government to see what their response is as well.
Thank you. I know that Matthew has said that this is not just Prescott. Everyone's getting it, other than like Brockville and Gann that have their own police services. But knowing that it's affecting most communities, they are looking into trying to figure out how to help fund it. So there is work going on behind the scenes on that. I'll just let you know. Yeah, question?
No, I was just gonna add to Matthew's comments there. In my first term, we were on tap for $2 million a year for police OPP services. That was the next bill. It was going to be, I think, a little over 2. But many municipalities in Ontario were crippled by the cost of police services. And we were one of the worst in Ontario per capita as far as police services go. I think I think it was around 600 some odd dollars per person at that time, where there were other municipalities that were being billed at only $60 per capita at the time. It was just totally disparate amounts, and constant pressure by AMO, complaints by municipalities. The province finally stepped in and they basically leveled it across the board, so everybody pays the same amount now, which dropped us down from almost 2 million to, as Matthew mentioned, 1.1. Unfortunately, it had the opposite effect on the people that were paying 65 per capita, and they had tremendous increases. But I think, given the two things in our information package this tonight by other municipalities, I think we are at the point where we are going to be petitioning the province again. We should be having AMO participate in that as well. It takes pressure from a lot of municipalities to get something done. And this is one of those cases where something needs to be done. Again, the extra money that we have had to do things in this town over the last 10 years or so, without increasing taxes tremendously, has come from that almost $1 million that we saved. And as I think Matthew pointed out in his report tonight, much of that savings has gone to pay for the new rink, the new fire hall. Those are things we would have had to increase taxes substantially in order to cover if we hadn't saved money on the OPP cost. So what I would suggest we do in light of this is direct staff to come up with a motion to be read at our next council meeting, asking the province to do exactly what you said they are already doing, but it doesn't hurt to reinforce and get as many voices in as possible that we can then approve, hopefully, and send on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Next report is staff report 85-2024, the town hall office holiday closures. The motion is that council approve the closure of the town hall office on Tuesday, December 24th, 2024, with a return to regular hours and services on Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Kirkby, second by Councillor Burton. Lindsay, floor is yours.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Klinker. Staff are recommending to council that the town hall office be closed from Tuesday, December 24th and resume regular business hours on Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. This would allow for in-person services and office availability at least one day over the 2-week time period. And the closure would be widely advertised to ensure residents are aware of the holiday closures. Last year, Town Hall was closed Friday, December 22nd at noon and reopened on January 2nd, but it fell differently in the week. And as a comparison, Augusta Township closes at noon on Christmas Eve and remains closed until January 2nd. We did reach out to the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, but they hadn't made a decision yet. We discussed with the Prescott Public Library and were notified that they are planning on being opened on December 23rd and Monday, December 30th, but didn't confirm their dates of closure. And staff would be required to use their vacation time for any days that are not statutory holidays, which ties into the financial implications, which would reduce the outstanding employee vacation day. And as always, the public is able to access priority services for any issues that arise and need to be addressed as a matter of health and safety. That's my report. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Councillor Call.
And it should be pointed out that our public works staff are still on call for any weather related or sewer or anything like that that they would normally be doing during that period. Thank you.
We would still have someone on call all week, right? Yeah, okay. Sure. All right. Okay, great. No other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ms. Velkamp. Okay, and the next one is staff report 86-2024, council meeting schedule for 2025. The motion is the council approve the 2025 summer council meeting dates as follows, with summer meeting dates of July 14th and August 11th, and January 2025 council meetings be held on January 13th and January 27th to accommodate busy holiday and conference schedules. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Burton and Councillor Lockett. Caitlin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Mayor Schenker, through you to council. Before you is our annual housekeeping report for the 2025 council meeting schedule. As per procedural bylaw, council meetings take place on first and third Monday of each month. So just something to note in the 2025 schedule is that would be shifted around in the month of January to accommodate both holiday schedules and the conference for Roma. Other than that, we meet once in July and August. So the recommendation includes approving the calendar as you have in front of you, or council could choose alternative meeting dates for the summer or in January.
Any questions for Ms. Mallory? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ms. Mallory. All right, next one is staff report 87-2024, the town hall community room usage requests. So the motion is that council approve the regular usage of the community rooms at town hall by local organizations at a reduced rental rate as outlined in this staff report in an effort to strengthen community health, safety, and well-being as outlined in our strategic plan. So this, so I need a mover and seconder. Councillor Kirkby, Deputy Mayor Young, and Samantha, you get to discuss this one.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, through you to council. This report outlines the interest expressed by 3 different community groups in utilizing community spaces, in particular town hall, on a regular basis. The groups that are requesting these are requesting space at either a discounted rate or for no rate. And each of these groups provide programming that aim to benefit our local community. The community rooms that are now finished here at Town Hall are designed to support local organizations and foster community engagement. As part of our ongoing commitment to enhancing our community involvement, the 3 community groups that are outlined in this report are requesting use of the spaces during the working hours of the regular operating hours of Town Hall. The first group in the report is Senior Support Services, also known as CPHC. They're a registered charitable organization dedicated to improving the lives of seniors and their families. They're requesting use of the Ruth Evanson Room to run their adult day program, which has approximately 10 participants in it, and also have access to the kitchen here on the 2nd floor. They would be using this space 2 days a week from 8 a.m. to 3:30, and they are requesting use for $100 a day, as this is the rate that they're paying at their current facility. The second group outlined is Early On Child and Family Center. Early On offers free high quality programming for families and children from birth to the age of 6 years old. Early On no longer has their programming or gym space that they did have at the TR Leger building. Their current Prescott-based schedule includes the following. So they have play and learn at the Prescott Library. They also have story time at the Prescott Library, and then they offer baby talk, which is not located here at Town Hall. One of their most popular programs that is no longer offered due to lack of facility is their family gym time. To give you an idea of numbers, from January to June of 2024, the program had a total of 345 children participate. I do have a tally of adults as well, but specifically the program is run for the children, and that totaled out to 345 children this year. They have taken a look at the fitness studio here at Town Hall and believe that that space would be adequate for what they would like to offer. And so because they offer free programming to the community, they are looking for the space at no cost. And they would be running that program once a week for 2 hours. And that again would happen during the regular operating hours of Town Hall. Then the third group is MTJB. MTJB is a childcare service, a nonprofit childcare service. They have 6 different sites, 1 in Maynard, 2 in Prescott, and 3 within Kemple area. They have lost their meeting space that allowed them to prepare all of their programming and activities, and are looking to use a space for an hour a day, Monday through Friday, to get their programs ready to bring back to their programming space. So they are looking to use, they're looking for a space at no cost as well. The activities that have been proposed by these groups do align with the community goals and promote social interaction. They provide, by providing access to the community rooms, either for free or at a discounted rate, could enhance participation and support their missions. As an alternative, council could decline the recommendation or choose to impose the regular rental fee. As outlined in the financial implication aspect of the report, there is a breakdown there to inform you of what that weekly difference would be between imposing the regular rate or a discounted or no rate. So that total, that weekly difference comes to $358.75 a week. Should council approve the recommendation, as has already been stated, the financial implication would be the loss of the rental revenue. These activities would fit within the normal operating hours of Town Hall, so no additional staff would need to be scheduled to come in to be on site while those activities are taking place. That is the report. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay. Councillor.
Through you, Mayor Shanker. Would there be any impact to local users potentially that want to use the space?
So we would be working with these organizations. So currently what's happening here is we have a falls prevention class currently scheduled weekly. We have Walker House Fitness scheduled weekly. So we would be working with these organizations and using our booking system so that these schedules aren't disrupting each other.
And all 3 of these offerings, including MTJB, provide service to non-residents of Prescott also, is that correct?
Well, MTJB has site specific in Prescott, but they also have sites in Augusta and in North Grenville. And then early on, it also has a site in Brockville. I believe it's at the new school actually in Brockville. I'm not sure if that's the case.
Swiftwater?
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And sorry.
Would Augusta residents and Cardinal Edwardsburg residents be open to attend these events? Just wondering.
I don't know the answer to that question. I can find out.
I think so. Like the
Big deal.
I know that I attended Prescott as an Augusta resident.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm all for all of this, to be clear, but if there's any kind of cost or upkeep to it, in my opinion, it's something that should be shared amongst tri-council communities or townships, right? So it's one thing to provide the space, but if there's cost or a loss of space, then I think there should be some kind of share in that with our neighboring municipalities, is where I'm coming from with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watkins?
Yes, so Samantha, this early on, for instance, would there be no place at the rink that they could use this? Because I'm thinking 345 kids through here is going to be a lot of wear and tear. And there is going to be upkeep and there is going to be maintenance. And I'm just saying, is this the best location for them? Or the Leo? I mean, I guess you wouldn't have the staff at the Leo.
They did take a look at the Leo, but I think the concrete floor was not adequate for what they were looking for. we could consider the arena if council is open for that. That would be a discussion around the table.
And really the same question was for MTJB because they need it 1 hour a day.
The community rooms at the arena could be a great fit for that as well.
And that leaves us open for something else here.
And that facility is also staffed during those
Yes.
hours as well. So those are opportunities for sure.
Just hold on. What? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's go, Tracy, and we'll come back. Councilor.
Samantha, how long would we be agreeing this to? Like, is this just open-ended or is it just for this year? Could we put like an end date so that maybe it could be revisited at some point? Just a suggestion.
Good idea.
I believe council would have yes, I believe that you would have to provide us the direction to do so. I think that's within reason.
Okay, no.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, it's kind of the same question, right? Is how long, is it an open-ended deal? It sounds like we're providing an office under the current contract or offer, proposal to MTJB forever to run all their facilities using one of our offices, which maybe could be shared again. And maybe if you put an end date in place, we could have at least a chance to revisit it. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Just a second, sorry. Samantha. Oh, okay.
So I'm wondering if you want to put an end date of March 31st, that would give them an opportunity to apply through the community grant that comes out this month. It's due in December, and then council would have consideration in January, February, and have an answer by March. So that might be a consideration. Give them that approval to March 31st, and then have them apply as part of the community grant process.
does that sound agreeable to you? Sorry, yes? Councilor Burton?
Thank you. So MTJB, daily for an hour each day. The library has a nice spot.
It could be a consideration. I do know that the library is also between the early on programming. If it's an option, it's certainly a conversation that could be had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think the early on, are they daily? Sorry. I'm forgetting, weekly. Oh, they're just weekly, 9 to 11. Yeah, I mean, there's possibilities there. The only thing for me, putting an end date, is you're talking about children, right? Children are wanting to come. They've been used to going, to play and learn at the Prescott Library and baby talk and story time. And if that ends, I don't know, I have a hard time putting an end date on it. Justification, I think it is a good idea, but I don't know, I'm kind of iffy on that.
If I may, I think when Mr. Armstrong was suggesting that then there's also an ability for them to apply for the community grant.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have a decision before March 31st, right? So that then
Yeah.
there is the end date, but it's kind of a soft end date.
Mm-hmm.
And we could provide another one after that.
Okay. And one more, if I may, are they looking at different spaces in our community and our other municipalities as well? Do we know? I mean, this is a fantastic facility and I want to promote it for sure. You get these, new people in there using our space. They're going to say, oh, well, I could rent this space for a little birthday party or an event in our grand room. You have to look at the flip side too, look at the different opportunities that this is going to be provided, right? So, but are they looking at different spaces in other municipalities or in our own municipalities, even through the schools? Do we know?
I know that MTJB came to us just to look, to find out what was available. So outside of what was in the report, more suggestions have come forward, which is fantastic. The other organizations, I believe CPHC has looked for other spaces, but that they haven't found one that meets their needs. And accessibility standards, I believe, is the biggest concern. Early on, I can't speak to early on. I'm not sure.
Well, just a thought. I mean, there's other places. I think Swiftwater too. They have a community room.
Okay.
I believe right in there in the school. So.
Thank you, Councillor.
I think we have to, it's a nice facility and it's great and it's nice to promote it, but this is still a work environment. This is still a workplace. And I think we can't forget that.
You talk about like disruption of.
Yeah. Up and down the steps and up and down the elevators and.
That's why I think maybe having the end date is a good thing.
Yes.
Right?
Because if it doesn't work out, then we still have other options.
Okay. Councillor Paul?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I'm glad Matthew mentioned the community grants, because when I was reading through this thing, these are all worthwhile programs, but they all seem like they should be coming in the community grant program to me. And this just looks like kind of a sidestep of our normal processes, which I'm never in favor of. But I do have some questions here. The senior sports services, it mentions the requested wait is $100 per day, which is at their current facility. Where's the current facility?
I believe it's one of the churches here in town.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a reason why they can't use it anymore?
As mentioned, accessibility is an issue.
Okay. The MTJB, it mentions they have two locations within the town of Prescott, but I don't get the feeling here that this is going to be one of their locations. They just need it for an hour a day to get their program together. Is that what I'm understanding?
It's a prep site, basically, because they don't have that. They did have that when they were at the TR Leger site. They no longer have that space. So yes, they just need a space to put their activities together.
Like an office.
Okay, so if they don't have it, where's the second site? Since they have two within the town.
One at Wellington and one at St. Mark's, and it depends on where the kids go to school, which site they end up at.
So obviously I'm wondering if they put it together to the old central school, why can't they put it together at the Wellington school now?
I can ask them that.
I do have another question as well. I share Ruth's worry about the amount of people in and out of the building. I know we were talking about the elevator before the meeting and the problems with the elevator as it is. I don't know, to me, again, they're all worthwhile programs, but I think they belong under the community grant process, and I think that they should come in at the time of the community grant process, is not sliding in now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Where am I going here? Sam, you have an answer for this?
Not an answer in relation to that, but I just did want to put out there that outside of the CPHC program, other town facilities can be an option. So as Councillor Lockett mentioned, if the arena is an opportunity or is kind of an idea that's floating around, that could probably be something that could work as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Samantha, you mentioned on page 41, you've got a little chart there with the current rate, requested rate, and the different total. is $358.75 now. Over what time period is that?
A week.
A week. That's what I thought. That adds up to $18,600 a year if my math is correct, which would normally, if we're renting it out to groups, go into the maintenance for this building. So 358 doesn't sound so bad, but when you look at the total, it's up there. So there is that as well. Thank you.
Councillor Kirkby?
Just for clarity, sorry, currently CHPC is running at St. John's Anglican Church, which I was there. So this would be a much user-friendlier venue for them. I do think the ACCC is a great idea for the
Early on.
early child, which both of my children attended, which was a good program. So just think that's a great space. So with the gym there and stuff like that, I think it's important that we support these great initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we do have a motion on the table. Is there, Ms. Belkamp, is there a way we can amend it a bit?
So through you, Mayor Schenker, I was gonna ask, so based on this recommendation that's before council now, it would be to approve the regular usage as outlined in the report. Does council feel, based on the discussion I'm hearing, potentially that's for the one community group? Is that CPHC? So if we could put an amendment, or if council wanted to put an amendment forward, saying that council approves the regular usage of the community room at town hall, and we can remove of local organizations as outlined, we can remove that last little bit, add in specifically CPHC with an end date of March 31st, and then provide staff with direction to explore alternative options for municipal facilities that could be used for the other groups.
We good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
When you're ready.
Okay, just one second. I just want to make, I gotta check on the mover and seconder. I think you were the mover, Councillor Kirkby, and Councillor Young, you were the seconder. Are you okay with that? But how we do that?
So I'm just trying to draft amendment. So if I can get a mover and a second for the amendment, so we'll remove that last portion and add, if I can have a mover and a second for that, and then we'll move the whole motion. It's gonna take me a second to put it together.
Okay, so
So through you, are we putting an end date on all three or just the one?
Removing the bottom two.
Did you, that's up to council. Did you want, or I'm guessing that staff would be bringing another report back with the alternatives, and at that point, we could add the date on at that point.
Okay, that's fair.
okay. So would you like to move it?
I'll move it.
And second it again? Okay.
Okay, so the amending motion will be to remove we'll remove
Local.
by local organizations to reduce rental rate outlined in staff report 87/2024, to the end, and replace with, okay, the council CPHC with March 1st, 2025, and
I said he's gonna forget this question.
I know.
what was the other community group?
MTJB early on.
Okay, so removing that section and adding CPHC with an end, approves the room space for CPHC with an end date of March 31st, and provide staff direction to bring a report back to council with alternative locations for MTJB and early on at a later council date. Does that capture the amending part?
Okay. So before we go ahead, you had a question?
Yeah, If memory serves me correctly, the CPHC used to meet at the health unit building that we owned before we sold it last term. Am I correct, Matthew? We, I believe, helped them find the location that they're at now, which I'd forgotten. St. John's Church. And if memory serves me correctly, again, there was some furniture involved with that group, with chairs and things like that that were there. Because I remember when we met there, when the second floor of this building was being renovated, I think you were there then. Yeah.
Sat in the comfy chairs.
Yes, exactly, we did.
Remember that.
So I don't know if there's a place here for leaving those big chairs and still accommodating the other things that we would do
Oh, I know.
in our rooms. On top of that, I don't know that St. John's Church isn't it just one floor? I haven't been in years, but and $800 a month, I think, to St. John's Church is gonna be a blow. So I think we should look further into that, to be perfectly honest with you, because I don't think we're in a business of accommodating a bunch of large furniture permanently here. Well, at least, on a daily basis.
I don't think they can bring all that stuff here. They get to rent the room. Get the furniture. Am I correct?
It goes with the,
Hopefully they
they
know.
are here.
Part of their
all day.
foot care. That's what they use some chairs for, it's for their foot care. Stuff like that.
Well, I think it needs some more looking into before we would go ahead with that.
Do you know anything about that offhand, Ms. Miller?
I want to find out if their adult day program is separate from their foot care program. I don't know that the two are one the same. I do believe that they're separate, but I would like to look into that.
Okay. So having said that, and we've amended this, well, there we go.
So if there needs to be more information, if council wants to withdraw this motion, we can do that and bring back more information based on this discussion.
I think that might be wise.
Yeah.
As long as moving a seconder wish to withdraw, we can withdraw that original motion.
Good with that? Good with that? Okay. All right. Sorry about that, but it's probably the best thing. There's
Yeah.
a few questions and. Okay, so we'll defer that and we'll move on to the next one. So the next report is 88-2024, the 25 operational and project budget process. First of all, the motion is that council approve the 2025 operational and project budget process as outlined in this report. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Burton, Councillor Rocket. Matthew, you've got this one?
Very much. So from an operational budget standpoint, we would start next meeting with just reviewing what we know so far in terms of increases, what we're faced against, as well as developing some type of range to try and aim for by the end of the process. In December, we would review the health and services, and then in January and February, get into the meat and potatoes of the budget. By the beginning of March, we would be in a position where we would review the budget, see how it aligns with the strategic plan, and be able to make any further adjustments as we see fit, or as you see fit. From a project budget standpoint and timeline, starting tomorrow, we would ask for project ideas. I'll send out the ones that didn't rise in the priority list for 2024 as a starting point, and then you can add from there. We would also, at the next meeting of council, review the key infrastructure projects. And really at this point, there's two major infrastructure projects for next year. One being East Street from Tibble to King with provisional from James to Tibble. And the other one being the replacement of the next dock at the marina. So those were our two things that we would talk about at the next meeting. And in December, If you have enough information, then proceeding to approve those two key infrastructure projects so that we can move those forward. In January, at the first meeting in January, we would take a look at the initial priority list. Then kind of go away, work at a priority setting, and then come back in February to review what those priorities look like. And again, aligning it that March, first meeting in March, being able to take a look at it and seeing how it aligns with the strategic plan. So not all that different from previous years, but certainly trying to do it in small parts where we're not inundating council with information, but being able to take a look at it in those small parts, to be able to have a focus on each of those as we go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions for Mr. Armstrong? Seeing none, we're going to call the question. All in favor? Great, thank you. Okay, next one is staff report 89-2024. It's a financial report for September up to September 2024. There's no motion, so this is for information only. Matthew, you've got this.
As we go through, the final property taxes were due August 31st, so the whole amount of the property tax is reflected in the report. That doesn't reflect how much is outstanding at September 30th, because that's not how accrual accounting works. But certainly, we're comfortable with the total property taxes that we envisioned being billed for in 2024. It was in fact billed for. We have the supplementary taxes that are a little over, I believe, 60,000, and we'd budgeted for 50. So good news from that perspective. And then as we're kind of going through some of those areas, the one revenue area that I'm a little bit concerned about is the interest on our outstanding cash. We're seeing long periods of time between when we put in claims for our projects and when we're actually paid for them through the ministry. And so that's put a significant strain on our outstanding cash amount, in particular for the ACC and for the water tower. So we're only allowed to submit once per year. We did submit back in March. We received the water tower payment in, I believe, August, and have yet to receive the final payment for the ACC. So, that certainly has an effect on that. We do believe that there's other areas of the budget will help to offset that variance, but did want to highlight that as something that is certainly a stress on the revenue budget side. From the expense side, things are looking quite good. Transportation budget's largely affected by repaving. That work, as I mentioned earlier, started last week and should be done in November. And as I had mentioned also previously in a previous report, that we are seeing equipment repairs above where we would like them to be. And so taking a look at some of the pieces of equipment that are causing those extra costs and seeing if we've reached a point in time where it's more cost effective to just replace them as opposed to keep repairing them. So we will be taking a look at that in the 2025 project budget considerations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions on the budget? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Oh, I'll take for second reports. No resolutions tonight, and there's one bylaw. 14.1 is the 2025 council appointments. The motion is that bylaw 46-2024 being a bylaw to appoint members of council to boards and commissions, to appoint members of council to committees of council, and appointments of deputy mayor for the remainder of 2024 and the year 2025 be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Moved by Counselor Burton, seconded by Counselor Kirkby. Any discussion on this?
Excuse me.
Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Next item is new business, 15.1, Count of Coburg Resolution of Support, RE Support of Involuntary Care for Individuals with Severe Mental Health and Addiction Issue. Councilor Kirkby, you have this one.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Shankar. On October 4th, 2024, the town of Coburg supported a resolution regarding support of involuntary care for individuals with severe mental health and addiction issues, requesting that the province of Ontario implement measures to ensure that individuals with severe mental health and addiction issues in Ontario have access to secure involuntary care when necessary. So there's two parts to this. The first part speaks to the resolution of Coburg. To be clear, there's already a mechanism in place for mental health for involuntary care. It's a pretty lengthy process. The big add-on here is for addictions. And if you look through your communities, surrounding communities, I think we've all witnessed the rise of addiction. Last year in Ontario alone, there was over 2,600 deaths directly related to fentanyl. That's 50% increase from 2019. Since 2016, there's been 46,000 deaths directly related to fentanyl and poisoned drug supply. So just to cap that off, part of this here is ensuring individuals get the help they need that they wouldn't seek themselves, which at one time was in place about 30 years ago when we lost our mental health facilities. Some of that stuff went away then. So that's a little bit run up on that. I have a lot of information on it, but we'll just leave it at that. Second part of this is Augusta Township recently passed a similar resolution of support at their meeting October 15th, 2024 regarding support for individuals with mental health and addiction issues. The United Counties of Leeds and Grenville released its Supportive Cabins Initiative, which was circulated to the Council of the Town of Prescott at our October 21st meeting. In partnership with the John Howard Society of Kingston and District, offers 24/7 support, living environments, including support for those with addiction and mental health issues. The information package provided to Council October 21st, 2024 meeting included the three items. Discussing mental health and addictions, indicating that mental health and addictions has an impact on our community and presents challenges to municipalities. So I have a draft resolution here, whereas the province of British Columbia has announced the creation of a highly secure facilities to provide involuntary care for individuals with severe mental health and addiction issues under the Mental Health Act, including dedicated mental health units in correctional centers and regional secure care facilities. And whereas municipalities across Ontario are facing a growing challenge in addressing the complex needs of individuals with severe mental health and addiction issues, which place a significant strain on local and emergency services, healthcare systems, community resources, and public safety. And whereas the town of Augusta recently passed a resolution of support regarding an investment from the province to increase access to mental health and addiction services to ensure that individuals in Ontario have access to secure care when needed. And whereas the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, in partnership with the John Howard Society of Kingston and District and the City of Brockville, recently released the Supportive Cabins Initiative that will address chronic homelessness in the community by providing short-term stabilization with 24/7 support services, including offering structure, supervision, support for the addictions in mental health, and life skills to become more independent. And whereas individuals experiencing severe mental health and addiction issues often cannot voluntarily seek care they need, and involuntarily care provided with compassion and appropriate safeguards can ensure they receive the necessary treatment to help stabilize their condition and improve community safety overall. Now therefore be resolved that the town of Prescott supports the recommendation the town of Coburg in Augusta Township to provide secure, involuntary care for individuals with severe mental health and addiction challenges as a compassionate and necessary intervention for those unable to seek help on their own. And further, that the town of Prescott supports the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville Supported Cabins Initiative in partnership with the John Howard Society of Kingston District and the City of Brockville, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of the Canadian Municipalities, the Premier, the Honourable Steve Clark, MPP, and all municipalities in Leeds and Grenville. Thank you.
You need a mover and a seconder?
I'll make them.
Yep. You're gonna move it?
Yeah.
And Councillor Lockett will second it. All in favor? Discussion first?
Yeah.
Sure. By all means.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. There's a lot of this that I'm really totally in favor with, Augusta's resolution and the cabin, the John Howard Society. I think there's so much controversy about the forced care. There's a lot of controversy about it. There's people that saying forced care is angering them. The institutional setting isn't great for them. And a lot of times, like, they're just going out, and when they do get released, they're re-traumatized. So I think that's a real hurdle to include the involuntary care portion of the motion. I don't know if we might get more uptake without including the involuntary care or the forced care portion.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Councillor Young, that's a hot topic. And what I'll say is this motion or this resolution from Coburg has also been discussed at the major municipalities across Ontario. The homeless encampments are full of addiction. There's over 1,400 homeless encampments now. If you saw somebody on the sidewalk having a heart attack and they didn't want help, would you leave them laying on the sidewalk? Or would you help them? Right? And it's the same with addictions, right? People are dying in tents across Ontario versus being put into care. I can speak for myself. If my child was addicted to meth or fentanyl, I would, and wouldn't allow help, I would hope there's a system in place that would put him into care or put her into care to help them get back on the feet. The only other option is death, in my opinion. And it's a slow death and a long death.
Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Justin and I spoke outside of council about this last week, and I think I could speak for him when I say neither one of us are wanting to go back to the days of 50, 40 years ago where you pop somebody in a mental facility and threw away the key. But he's right, and you're right. There are instances, and it's increasing instances with this drug business that we have going on. With people who need help, obviously, if they don't get help, they're going to wind up dead. And that's just not right. There should be a method in place where if your child is, as you used an example, is hooked, that you should be able to step in and say, put this kid in treatment and he stays there until he's clean. Giving the people the option themselves to go, I don't think is an answer at this particular level anymore. The problem has to be dealt with. And I think Justin's motion, well, not perfect like most of the motions that come out of councils aren't. I think it points a very good a very good point, finger at the point of what needs to be done. I think we should support it. There are, as he mentions, things in place now where you can be placed somewhere. And when we were talking, I mentioned to him, when I had my store in Brockville, I used to have people come into the store that had problems. And they could talk a normal conversation. They were clean, they were presentable. And they'd come in frequently, buy the odd thing, and then you'd see them a week later, a couple of weeks later, they're looking a little shabby, and then a couple of weeks after that, they're looking really shabby, and then they disappear. And these are people that used to be institutionalized. They were placed in the community, in their own apartments, but they were being kept an eye on. And when they got to the point where they weren't taking their medication anymore, because they didn't need it, there's nothing wrong with them anymore. That's the mental attitude that some of them reach, cured. They would be picked up by this authority, taken back, dealt with to the point where they were acceptable into the community again, realized that they needed it, and then out that they would go. So this is kind of part of, I think, where we should be going with this thing. And I support Justin's motion because I think it addresses this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I definitely support it as well, and I know what Tracy's saying, and but it's a temporary, involuntary thing, hopefully to get them straightened around, and it's not just for their safety, it's for the safety of everybody else, because when they used to be able to go into the psych and they would get their meds straightened out, and sometimes that's all it took, just get their meds straightened out, but right now there's no place. A lot of them don't even have a doctor.
I think by putting this motion forward or agreeing with Coburg and Augusta, we're letting the government know that we're aware of this, right? And we're trying to make more awareness of them so that they can make changes. Like, our motion isn't gonna make it happen, like the involuntary treatment. That unfortunately comes like from the doctors and everything like that. Because if they don't have permission, they can walk right out of those hospitals, right? Which is part of the issue. I know.
An issue.
I know. But I mean, I don't think this motion is gonna change that, but it just might give them more awareness that, we'd like to see some changes going forward to help with this challenge that we're having.
Epidemic.
Yeah.
I throw one more thing, Mayor Schenker. We discussed earlier the OPP billing that we get, and there is a certain portion of that billing that's dealing with people with mental problems, with addictions, and that's a medical thing. The police should have to deal with that on a minimal basis, but they don't. They have to deal with it on a daily basis. And that goes to supporting the amount of money we have to pay them. So, like a lot of things, one thing is entangled with another here. I think we have two things entangled tonight that we shouldn't be going forward.
I think you're seeing a lot of things getting passed down to local municipalities now, which is unfair to most of us for that. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. We've had discussion. I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Armstrong, is there any media online? No. All right. No notices of motion, no mayor's proclamation. We do have one confirming bylaw. That bylaw 47-2024 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on November 4th, 2024. Be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Young, seconded by Councillor Lockett. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Last one is the adjournment. that the meeting be adjourned to Monday, November 18th, 2024, 6 PM. Time is now 7:50. Moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor Burton. All